So I weren't initially going to talk about this, but here we are. I am. And mainly because it's being pushed in my face now to a point where it's nearly impossible to avoid in any sense, especially for myself. YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, everywhere that I've seen. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about probably every aspect of this we can come at it from. Again, it's a bit of a heated debate right now, so we will do this respectfully, and we will not, of course, target anyone in particular. I feel like we need to talk about this because it is splitting the community in a very odd sense. It's not everyone. Of course, there's always the odd set that ruin it for everyone else. And again, part of the problem is certain creators that aren't necessarily part of the community, but rather follow a trend, are also not aiding this either. They're actually the opposite of making it worse. But anyway, we're talking more than doing any theory stuff today or like news. I always try to stay away from drama, but this one's just being thrown at me, if that makes sense. Like, I know it sounds a bit weird, especially if you're just like browsing the internet or something, but for me, I see it literally every day. I'm being recommended it every few seconds. I'm having to respond to mod complaints and things like that on Reddit. Anyway, that's beside the point. But yes, I feel like we need to talk about it. So it's not like a theory video, not a story. They are coming. Don't worry. We've had some new footage about Little Nightmares 3 today, so I'm very excited to do that one, and we will do it. But today is a little bit of a horrible situation. So what's going on? In short, we're having a bit of a separation at the moment with the community. Very horrible comments like, is Little Nightmares for Reanimal and things like that, and it's like we're leaning in this direction basically, and it's not okay. I'm pretty sure if you're in the community, you would have seen it by now, or you would see it all over like Reddit or posted on Twitter. But in short, it's not very nice, and it's quite horrible. And no matter what side of the fence you're sitting, whether that be you're a developer, whether that be you're just an average casual player, or you're a creator, or you're a viewer of both the game and creators and things like that, it's a bit of a horrible place to be right now, and it just spreads a horrible negativity that isn't needed around that time. And I could probably talk about this for a while, but I don't want to be talking about it as much as I have to, if that makes sense. Like, I don't like talking about drama, I don't like definitely highlighting drama, but I definitely do feel like this needs to be said. And as a creator, I feel like it's my responsibility to inform you. And so, what is the general story? Because again, a lot of people get these details wrong. A lot of people aren't well informed. A lot of people don't research. A lot of creators don't research. A lot of creators just take what they see at face value. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes at Target, blah blah blah, and all Supermassive, yada yada. So hopefully I'm going to try and clear that up a little bit. So the story so far is that Tarsia, of course, as we know, made Little Nightmares, originally called Hunger. That's not new news. Originally it was called Hunger. They changed it because the Hunger Games came out. Obviously it breaks the SEO, so you wouldn't find the game if you were looking for press or anything like that. So before, of course, we get all into it, no, I'm not a legal person. My advice and findings are my own. I'm not educated in these kind of laws or whatnot on business practice, but anyway, so the very short history of Hunger and Little Nightmares in this kind of retrospect is that Tarsia went off, they made a game, they called it Hunger. Hunger was looking really good, they were onto something. They changed the name. They had to change the name because, Hunger Games just came out and it would absolutely blow the game under the water if they released it. So they changed the name. Little Nightmares is then, I believe, showed to Sony because, of course, Tarsia have a partnership with Sony. Well, not like an official partnership, but there's a relationship, if you will. And they show the game to Sony. I think Sony sort of passed it, and they ended up finding a new publisher, which was Bandai Namco. And I believe this was because at the time Bandai Namco wanted to stretch to the Western sort of market, and yada yada yada. In between those points, Hunger did receive funding from the, let me get the name right, the Creative European Program for the European Union. And that's like a government funding for like creative arts and things like that. So they had a good injection then. And then comes Bandai, which then helps them out and then gets the funding. And thus, I believe the IP was obtained when Bandai brought into Tarsia or Hunger the IP. I think they brought the IP as well as like all the publishing. Anyway, after that, they agree. Lovely partnership. Little Nightmares does very well. They go on and they go make Little Nightmares 2. Little Nightmares 2 gets developed, and during, I believe it's very early on in Little Nightmares 2's lifetime, I believe quite early, they get, Tarsia get acquired by Embracer Group. Now, you know Embracer Group. They've been buying up studios left, right, and centre, and then closing them. That's why I made the video. I'm a bit worried about Tarsia. Not worried anymore. But they bought them out. They obviously give them a good amount of money. And as a studio for Tarsia, it's the right move. They didn't want to keep making Little Nightmares. They wanted to go do their own thing. And they had some guaranteed funding and support. Hats off to them for taking it. They needed to, really. And so, with that, Tarsia was still under their obligation to finish Little Nightmares 2. But Embracer did say while they were finishing Little Nightmares 2, you're going to work on your own IPs from now on. No. Own IPs, and of course they have to. And so there's the breakup, and we know this is kind of like obvious because as we saw from like the game files of Little Nightmares 2, there was a future planned. Bandai are then faced with a decision. They either scrap the IP or keep it going, find new studios. Little Nightmares isn't new to finding new studios to transform its works. Look at things like The Sounds of Nightmares, look at Very Little Nightmares, look at the comic apps. There's very many ways it went, and it did it ever so well. And so, of course, they've got two options. They can either close the game completely, close the IP, lose out on the money they've bought, lose out on the IP they've bought, which would be a silly game, obviously, or find another studio willing to work on it. Along comes Supermassive Games. Now, Supermassive Games are, quite frankly, good in my books. They saved Little Nightmares from being absolutely outright cancelled, and they've kept it going. But Little Nightmares 2 obviously was still being developed, and I believe somewhere, like I said, my facts are only going to be what I've took from the internet. It's what I've made myself. It's not factual. I've not sat down with these people and had a discussion, because I imagine that would be crazily illegal if I talk about it. Again, it would be like a whole spiel. So I believe that Supermassive Games came on. They did all the work for the enhanced edition for Little Nightmares and did a fantastic job. And I think somewhere along that line, Bandai had spoke to Supermassive, or Supermassive had made this little team for Little Nightmares to continue working on. And somewhere along that line, Bandai sort of said, well, you want to continue. You want to do it for us. You already know. You're familiar. You're obviously very capable. We've seen the work you've done. We want to continue this IP, and we would like you to, of course, help us do it. And thus, there's a relationship made. And of course, it's not the first time. I think they've worked before on previous stuff, like loads. I think like the Anthology or the Dark Pictures sort of has like a connection there. I don't play the Anthology, so I don't know. But so they have that connection, and then of course that's where we are. We have, of course, Supermassive Games carrying Little Nightmares all the way on now. And that's really good. What aggravates me more than anything is when people claim Little Nightmares 3 doesn't look like Little Nightmares, and I don't know where anyone sees this. I'm very confused. What you have to remember is Supermassive Games are given the lore book, are given where the settings are going to be, where it's going to take place, and how to sort of communicate that. Tarsia would have done a similar job given the Necropolis. Again, one of the big arguments was the color palette, and from the recent trailer, from the recent gameplay, we just see the Necropolis has night and day. So you just saw it in the day, which was a bit more yellow, and now in the night it's actually dark, and it looks very gloomy, and it looks very Little Nightmares-y. But I don't understand the argument that it doesn't fit the Little Nightmares world, because of course it has to. They are paid to do that. They are paid to follow this art style. And if anything, I would say hats off to Supermassive Games. it is harder to replicate an art style that is so unique and pass it off for the original work. And if you ask me, they've done a fantastic job. I just think people are a bit apprehensive about the setting. It's not the art you're upset with, it's the setting you don't quite sit with. And, you know, each their own, fair enough, that's a fair opinion. But you can't go on about it just because they've changed the studios, that it's lost the magic, you know, something silly like that. It's like, alright, it's not Disney, calm down. They can replicate these works. Have you seen some of the stuff Supermassive Games have done before? Have you seen? You don't think they're capable of replicating Tarsia's look? Again, Tarsia have their own look. Tarsia have their own art style. And this is where I think a lot of the argument sort of really stems from. It's people not really figuring out that Tarsia have their own art style. And what you're seeing in Reanimal is that art style. But this time, they're not limited. Now, Little Nightmares, of course, is aimed at a demographic that's under 18. It must be. I don't think that'll ever change. Dialed back. So you're seeing Tarsia untethered. And Tarsia are bloody fantastic. They can make you feel uneasy with their art. You only had to look at it, and you instantly knew that Reanimal teaser on the Nordic showcase was Tarsia. I did it by accident. I was like, that looks like Tarsia. And it was. And this is how unique their art style is. And it is an amazing looking art style. Fantastic. And it fits very well in the world of Little Nightmares because they made the game. So again, Supermassive Games stepping in, they have the harder job here. They've had the hardest job probably for the last 2-3 years. And of course, Tarsia stepping away. Now Tarsia have a big bullet to bite here because of course they're gambling now. They're gambling that their new game is going to do well or poorly. And as we've seen, it's going to do very well because Reanimal is absolutely fantastic. And I would like to highlight as well one thing. Remember when they announced it on Twitter, Reanimal? They even emphasized that the game is new. I think they are anticipating that constant connection with Little Nightmares again. Again, yes, they're the creators of Little Nightmares, but that's that. They don't work on it anymore. They've got no association with it. They are trying to step away. Of course, they don't forget their roots. They don't forget their art style and all that jazz. It was their project. It's not the case anymore. Now it's been handed over, and Supermassive Games are dealing with it. The DNA of Reanimal is, of course, going to be similar. The important part of this is similar. It's not connected. Please, if there is anything, stop saying connected. Again, similar. We've seen similar things in the Little Nightmares concept art. Maybe they were trying out the stage back then. Maybe they were really going for that gruesome artwork back then. Of course, they had to dial it back. We saw it in Little Nightmares 1. The textures had to actually be removed because they were too gory or graphic. It's similar. They're going off some of their previous similar work, and this is where I think people are finding it very difficult to differentiate. People are not differentiating the art style. And, of course, Little Nightmares has an identity. It looks the way it does. It's scaled the way it does. It's colour paletted the way it does. And again, new scenarios, new places are going to change that, and it's going to look different. Just because the necropolis is brand new to you and it looks a bit yellow, oh, you don't think, oh no, it's not looking like the Moor, I'm in trouble. Or it's not looking as blue as Pale City, we're in trouble. No. You're in a new setting. It needs to be different. They cannot keep reproducing the Pale City. They cannot come constantly recreating those areas, can they? They're just going to reuse assets at that point. So they need to progress the game forward. Like I said, the DNA is similar. Reanimal looks fantastic. Gory, atmospheric. It's everything you want. It's the original studio making something they are passionate about again. They want to build this world. They want to build this creepy, dark world that we're going to involve ourselves. They are building this world from the ground up. Of course there's going to be similarities. Of course there's going to be ideas that they pull up that they couldn't put in Little Nightmares 2 or something. There's no connection in the sense of like mechanically or like story and stuff. That's not it. It's all concept. This is all concept art. These are all like little bits they could have tried out. This is prototype. This is concept phase. This stuff gets reused all the time. That's what, but it's not a connection. So yes, we see similar. So yes, we see similar images of like pigs and things in like the files and the paintings, but they are not connected. Again, Little Nightmares has the DNA of Tarsier Studios. Those things are going to be in there. That's the way it is. You can't exactly take Tarsier, pick them up, throw them over into doing Reanimal, and then be like, I don't want any more of that. You want more of that art style. You want more of that gore, that atmosphere. I am so glad. I remember saying it a long time ago. I was like, oh, I hope they don't drop their style of like how they do all the creatures and settings. My biggest concern with Tarsier when they went away and did their own game, because I want them to do what they do best, and they are doing it, to say the least. Reanimal looks absolutely fantastic in any sense, and so does Little Nightmares 3. Little Nightmares 3 is looking like it's going to blow us out the park as well. And also, one thing I want to address is, of course, people getting upset at the hype over Animal and Little Nightmares. It's going to happen. We've known about Little Nightmares now for the last, like, what, year? We've known Little Nightmares. The way you have to look at it is compare your reaction to when Little Nightmares 3 was announced to Reanimal. That's when you need to compare it. That's an equal comparison. But we've known about Little Nightmares. We got to see an updated version of Little Nightmares 3. And, you know, we're used to it. We're happy. We like what we see. Some people, of course, are always going to find the faults in everything. That's just the way they are, unfortunately. And Reanimal, brand spanking new. We were worried about Tarsier. They are back, and hell yes, they are. Thank goodness, you know. It's a relief as well as excitement and, you know, all the usual. And I imagine it is for them, because what you've got to remember as well is every time you write one of these spiteful comments or these ill-informed comments, or like you talk about these creators creating videos on these topics, you don't just talk about a topic, you actually affect developers. You know, there's hundreds of people behind these games. Look at Tarsier, they've grown. Like, I think they started with like, what, 60 when they left and got acquired. And Supermassive Games has a whole list of people, and there are people behind these projects watching people argue over something they have no control over. And again, the whole argument seems very pointless to me. Again, I get the similarity thing because it's the DNA. Tarsier's DNA is in Little Nightmares. Flat. That's that. That's as much as you have to say. That's something they can't avoid. Again, hats off to Supermassive Games for being able to replicate that, because that's got to be harder. And then, again, hats off to Tarsier to creating and doing their own thing and building a world that's even scary. But then you also discredit Tarsier's work because you're not accepting they're moving on from what they originally created. They're making what they want to make. Stop doing the whole it's Little Nightmares 4, or it's like, oh, it's a Little Nightmares we never got. Stop. You're not impressing anyone. It's a very small, narrow-minded view. Like, again, the similarities are there. The same people that probably worked on Little Nightmares 2 and 1 are there too. So it's no wonder the similarities are there. But you are discrediting the hard work that goes into these games by just terribly linking things because you can't let go. That's basically the problem. You wanted Tarsier to stay and work on Little Nightmares, and you know, in a perfect world they would. But Tarsier, as a studio, have grown. They want to do more things. They want to do more exploration. They want to do their own stuff. Tarsier want to go make their own thing. They want to explore different ideas. For instance, Static. If you looked at Static, you wouldn't know it's Tarsier. And Static, I'll say it again, I always do. Static is a gem. And it's just unfortunate that it was limited to PlayStation. If that would have came on Steam around the time of the VR boom, that would have had a really big following, I reckon. It would have done really well. That game was so well done, so well written, and the presentation on that game was fantastic, and you wouldn't have thought it was Tarsier. And then, of course, we have Supermassive Games. They're a talented group of people, and there are loads of them. They're really well versed in their style. I mean, have you seen some of the work they do? It's ridiculously good. It's so like photorealistic, and not to mention the stories they drive. It's mad. And Bandai have passed it off to a good hand. Bandai know Little Nightmares. They were there from day one. Lucas was there from day one. Correlate, I remember, I think she started off as like an assistant to Luke. I might be wrong there, but she started off early in Little Nightmares 1, and then they've grown with it. You don't realise how embedded these people are to this IP and these things. And, you know, they haven't just handed it off to someone. They've just gone, yeah, make that please. We'll give you a bit of money. Job done. No, they have to literally direct it. They have to be there as that filter before it gets shown to us. I mean, Supermassive Games have got it. They've got the design. They've got that aspect. It looks exactly Little Nightmares. I don't know the argument for why it doesn't look like Little Nightmares. It's mad to me. Low and Alone's design, fantastic. And again, the whole thing is being nursed by Wayne Garland, and he is the game director for it. And he's even done some interviews where he's mentioned how passionate he is, and you know, it's rare to see like people that give a crap, you know. And so hats off to every one of them. Thank you for keeping Little Nightmares alive. Thank you for telling these stories. And another thing I see all the time is people complaining that it isn't 6 in mono. What? Do you want to keep telling the same story year after year? That's not going to work. The Little Nightmares is about the nowhere. It's not about 6. It's not about mono. It's not about specific children. It's about those experiences in the nowhere and the horrors they face. Every game is a new story. You need a new set of characters for that story. Look at Low and Alone. Like, damn. It is so interesting to see where this is going to go. Look at where they were going to take Little Nightmares 2. They had loads of DLC characters ready along with the comics. Do you think Mono and 6 was going to be the main part of that? No. So, I get that you don't like change. No one likes change. It's human nature. You don't like change. You like things the way they are. But that's not how life works. Life changes. And so do the games you play. So does the current trends. So do studios. So do staff. So do people. They have these careers they're working in. People invest their lives into these games. Their hard work, their sweat, their tears. And especially right now, with the amount of game closures, or well, game studio closures, people being laid off, it is in poor taste to be doing silly comparisons and ill-informed comparisons of, oh, this is the new Little Nightmares. It's just silly. Like, it's so narrow-minded. Like, how do you do it? I mentioned creators, and I have to be kind of careful because I don't want to outright say you are being an idiot, you are being an idiot, you're being an idiot. Definitely you. I don't want to do that because it doesn't help anyone. It just spreads more drama, and I'd rather not get into it. I feel like creators really need to take a little bit more responsibility on pushing those narratives. I feel like if you're a creator covering these topics and, you know, saying that the Reanimal is connected to Little Nightmares in some sense, I think you really, really need to double take. I think you really need to sit back and reevaluate the message you're sending, not only to your viewers, but to the people playing the game, but to the creators and everyone involved in these IPs, you know. So I think as a creator, you have a certain responsibility. I think you've got to be giving the correct information at all times, do your own research and best of, and don't just do things on a whim. Now, of course, the thumbnails I've shown you previously, or have done now, these are just a few that I've seen. I'm pretty sure there are many more, but these are the ones that have been shoved in my face, thank you YouTube, and it's part of the problem. You know, like, again, the main issue I have, it's not necessarily the creators themselves, it's the videos. I don't like the uninformed narrative that's pushed, and the only reason why creators are doing these videos in this way is, of course, for the shock value. And this also includes their click-through rate, and this helps their videos and helps the reach of the video. It's, you know, it's basic YouTube, basically baiting you in as usual. And no matter what side you're on of the debate, you're going to interact with this kind of stuff. Again, it's bait. And it's only for their own gain, and it separates the community, and I don't like that, especially if you're dipping in because it's a trend. I don't feel like that's very fair, especially for the community. I know creators have to make content and videos around trending topics. Look what I'm doing right now. I'd be a bit silly if I was saying that, and I'm not talking about this stuff right now. I get it. You know, you've got to push your YouTube. You've got to do content consistently. And, you know, YouTube is a horrible sort of place, especially for like, analytics and algorithm. And but hopefully, if you are watching this video, not that you would, but if you're watching these creators or if you're watching this video, you know, take a step back, have another look. Maybe you could probably title it or thumbnail it a bit different. I imagine if you've included it in the video, it's a bit different, it's a bit too late. There are going to be responses to your videos and things like that, and a lot of these people are on high emotion with it, and of course they're going to run with how or whatever you say, which is, again, irresponsible. And I think if people came into it a bit more informed about how it all worked and how it happened and, you know, the history of Little Nightmares and things like that, again, I think they would have a better understanding as the viewers of, you know, why it does look similar, not a connection. Again, I will reiterate, similar, not a connection. And I mean, you know, each to your own. You're allowed to have an opinion, of course. No one's stopping you from that. But acting as if those opinions are fact is part of the problem, and I think that's what's happening, basically. But of course, there's nothing wrong with you saying you don't like the look of Little Nightmares 3. It's fine. That's you. It's your world. You know, you do you. And there's nothing wrong with you saying don't like Reanimal. That's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But doing the whole splitting the fandom malarkey is where I feel like, yeah, step back. I think a lot of people are also forgetting the plus of all this. You have two fantastic, atmospheric, story, mystery-driven games that are going to be coming out now. You've got both cakes. Eat them. You know, like, I don't know why there's that negativity. Like, we're winning. We're eating good right now. Like, we're going to get so much content from both studios. And why is that a problem? Why are you dividing this community or trying to make a point that one's better than the other and things like that when they're completely different games, our lad? They're different games. There might even be different target audiences in the end. Reanimal might be 18 plus, and Little Nightmares is still holding on to, I think it's 16 rating. It's two different games. They can only show certain things, Supermassive Games and Bandai, because of the age. And then when you come to Reanimal and Tarsia, they have no limitations, and that's very clear. And again, we have the best of both worlds right now. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it for yourself. Don't ruin it for someone else. If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. It's like the simplest advice you ever get. Live by it. It'll save you a lot of hassle. If you've got maybe something you want to ask, or if you want a bit of clarification on something, then shoot a message away, leave a comment. I'm more than happy to comment. Of course, like I said, no hate to anyone, and you know, don't give hate, and you know. But yeah, hopefully people start thinking twice before they start posting silly connection videos and things like that. But of course, let me know what you think. And of course, if you're looking forward to Little Nightmares 3 and any Little Nightmares content and Reanimal, hit subscribe. I'm going to be doing both games and covering them like mad. It's such a shame. It really is. I hate making these types of videos. But it seems like it's got really out of hand really fast. And yeah, you see it everywhere at the moment. But yeah, so it's a shame it has to come to this. But I feel like I'm allowed to have my opinion and record it. Like everyone else is. So why not? Of course, let me know what you think in the comments below. And again, if you are looking forward to Little Nightmares and Reanimal, make sure you hit subscribe. But more importantly, have a lovely day and enjoy all the Gamescom news you can get your hands on, because I'm trying to see all the footage and they've now got it under NDA wrap, so you can only see it if you're there. Great. But of course, with that being said, have a lovely morning, day or night wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video.